This shop's one of a kind. We never know what might turn up. Some days, it could be a grand old classic. Other days, maybe a muscle car, even a military vehicle. Some jobs are quick fixes. Others are full-blown restorations. And on occasion, million-dollar recreations. My only rule, perfection. And that's the kind of thing that we do at the Guild Garage. All right, so this is the next big one. Today I'm unveiling a new project, a big project. This is a 250 GT California Spider, a wonderful Ferrari from the late 1950s. We're building this for a client who wants a fully built replica. And the reason for that is the real thing is worth $15 to $30 million, and he doesn't want to drive it in traffic. So what he wants us to do is build one for him that's only $1 million or so he can drive that around in traffic and not endanger a far more expensive car. We're going to be using nice, shiny, brand new aluminum. It'll be appropriate to the car. The Italians sandbag their cars. If it doesn't take longer to do it that way, I prefer it to do that way. And simply because that is going to give us the kind of metal finish that they were dealing with. Ken and James, I'm going to want you on the chassis. And then Alex, you and Billy, start on the body. Start to cutting out the main shapes. One of the most important tools that we have for building this car is a forming buck. It's basically a plywood representation of the car that gives us all the angles and curves and dimensions so that as we're building the panels, we just fit them on the buck, make sure they're perfect.
So we're gonna have to sort of go off pictures. These are the best ones I could find. So it looks like there's about 3 pieces we're gonna have to make. We're gonna need to make the plate for the taillight to actually mount to. There's this rear shelf area. So Billy's been working hard. He's been really enthusiastic to learn. So today we're gonna take him in and show him how to make big panels. What the Italians did a lot of the time is they built what they called like a structured buck. So it was either a giant log or a giant piece of like this that would all have been laminated together. That was the shape of the car, of the whole fender. And they beat the ever-loving crap out of the piece of metal until it looked like a fender. So here, you feel that stuff is really soft. That's like a type of aluminum I like working with. It's a little softer than 3003, but you can feel it's just like butter. You really don't need to anneal it.
The Italians never used English wheels or power hammers or anything like that. They literally stayed with an older practice of using mallets on sandbags and just forming the metal by literally beating the crap out of it.
Real precision cuts there.
Of course. Combination of hammers.
And a spoon.
Yeah, a flat hammer. It's a bag of sand. You can fill these up with anything to a point that'll work. Every time you hit a piece of metal with a hammer, it actually stretches a little bit. Doesn't matter how much you do it. See how shiny the metal stays? It doesn't really deform. You don't do any damage to it. The main advantage to panel beating is that you use very simple tools. You don't need big, complex machinery. Just simple hand tools, and you can create very complex curves, very subtle curves, all in the same amount of time. And you can hear it, right? You can hear the noise I'm making.
Yeah, you can
every
hear
time
it
it sandwiches, and you can hear when I'm not hitting it. You sort of listen for it more than feel or anything else, right? And you're not going to
hollow.
Yeah, and it's going to sound hollow. You're on your own. You figure this out.
Great.
First-hand information is really important, certainly for me so that I can guide guys properly. And to that end, I'm off to Italy to look at cars built in the same period by the same coach builders who built these particular cars. And while I'm there, I'm hoping to run into an old friend. This is where he told us to stay.
Who?
You'll see. I know Emanuele from a previous trip to Italy. And, well, I kept in touch because he's...
Oh, my God.
Quite simply unforgettable.
Mamma mia.
Is this it?
This is him.
Hi. Nice to meet you.
This year was a very surprise for me because Mr. Grainger was not alone. He came with a beautiful woman.
Janet,
Nice to meet you. Very nice to meet you. A girlfriend of Mr. Grainger is my girl. No, sorry. A friend of Mr. Grainger is a friend of mine.
So, where I need to go today is I've got to meet with a gentleman at Alfa Romeo.
Okay, Mr. Grainger. Before Alpha, I have to take you in a place very cool, very special for you.
I have to get to Alfa.
You'll be there in time. Never mind.
Right now, I've been tasked to making the doors for the Ferrari project, and it's my first time, so we'll see how that turns out. It should open like that. Slam. This part over here, I need to have a minimum of a ½ inch for here for the door hinges, so it actually opens and closes. I start off with using cardboard and some welding wire to kind of give it some rigidity. In order to build this door, I have 11 pictures that I can get to go off. I don't really have any blueprints or anything like that. I take the cardboard after, and I put it onto a sheet of metal. Close enough. And I cut out cardboard from the sheet of metal. I'm just cutting pieces now to go from the front to the back, just to come along to give it some rigidity. Just got a cross brace for the door. This will be the side of the door. I just fold the metal to prevent it from doing this. Rigidity. Boom.
So I've got to get to a meeting, but of course Emanuele has other ideas.
We are close to a very interesting place.
Where are we going?
Once here, there was the first factory of Alfa Romeo.
He's taken us to Portello. It was the first Alfa Romeo factory. I think it was built in around 1908. During the Second World War, it was converted for the building of war machinery and buses and aircraft engines. The Allies bombed the Portello plant into rubble during the Second World War. But later on, the Italians rebuilt it and started producing Alfas again, like the Giulietta, which is still being built today.
So the rubble from that old factory, they built this hill.
Yeah. Now, finally, we arrive at the top of the hill.
During the 1960s, Alfa outgrew Portello, so they moved across town and donated the original factory site to the local city, which turned it into a great park. So now, can you take me to my meeting at Alfa? Where they still make cars.
Of course.
So I'm driving.
No.
Oh, yeah, I am.
Billy and I have been working on the California Spider. We're going to start in the back corner. There's a lot of really complex curves and flows that need to flow into the same area and end at the same point, so that's where we're going to start today. How's it going?
It's moving.
Did you ruin it yet?
I think so. I don't know.
No, not
Is
quite.
it going the right way?
Yeah, it's starting to. Let's see how the radius looks. It's just starting to lose its radius. Yeah. I like to use as few pieces as possible. It allows the panels to flow nice, so there's less weld seams, less distortion. The fewer pieces you use means you have to hammer the metal more. It tends to thin it out. That can cause a lot of issues down the road. That's the biggest issue with this piece, is we're gonna have to literally stretch it no more than we absolutely have to get it to stand up. I mean, this is one of those areas we could make it out of multiple pieces. We could slice it across here, and then we have very little to stretch and make this out of a different piece. I like to try and do stuff in as big a pieces as I feel comfortable doing, because then everything flows nicer, right? There's less welds, there's less things you have to line up to make flow together, right? Cool, yeah, you keep working on this side. I'm gonna get started on the other side and some of the other smaller pieces, and good luck.
Cool.
We're in Milan, and I think Emanuele actually knows where he's going. He's taking me to meet a guy who's an expert in coach building. Well, as we know, Emanuele and directions really don't mix.
Bologna, Genoa, Torino.
Straight.
Straight.
Never mind, straight in the middle. I hope.
I hope.
Because you know, I have 2 GPS.
I know.
Because 2 is better than 1.
Yeah, apparently not. Does that have a crosswalk?
Yes. Pay
Yes.
attention to people.
Have to stop.
See, these are 50.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
50? 50 what?
Slow.
Slow. Okay.
So, Emanuele, can you teach me some Italian words?
Of course. Tu sei l'amore mio. That means you are the love of mine.
He didn't stop there.
And yes, of course, pay attention, Mr. Grainger, please.
Sorry.
Pay attention. Che magnifica donna.
Okay, magnificent.
Magnifica.
Oh, magnifica. Dawn.
Donna.
Dawn.
Right now, I'm about to put all the pieces of the door together. So you got the bottom, you got the back, the front. Put it all together and see if I can make it look like a door. The biggest challenge I have right now is making sure all my gaps are right. Because I know what my gaps are all around it, I made up these spacers that I can put in various places so I have the right gap everywhere. This frame is the biggest part of this. If I'm out even an 1/8 of an inch, 1/16 of an inch, that means that paint is now rubbing up against the door. I've already pre-measured these pieces to fit the door openings. Now I just gotta make sure that they're level. To me, it's more of a pride factor, saying, yes, I did that, it's done right, and it's perfect. It's almost a door.
I have to get the fit and finish just perfect on this Ferrari recreation. So I've come to the Alfa Romeo Historical Museum to take a look at some of Italy's finest coachwork.
Lorenzo?
Hi. Nice
Dave
to meet
Grainger.
you. Welcome to the museum.
So these are all Superleggera.
All Superleggera. This is the Italian school chapter.
On the Ferrari, we have a lot of photographs to work with, but they don't give you access to the little tiny details like fit and finish and little corners and things underneath the car. That's what I'm here to take a look at.
And this is the 6C 2500 Super Sport.
Wow, look at this car.
And this is a special version designed by Touring with the Superleggera method, and is called Villa d'Este. Superleggera is a patented technique, and on the tubular frame, aluminum panels are just folded around. Not screwed, not welded, just folded.
In order to reduce this car's weight, the coach builders came up with a very clever system of folding and crimping the car's outer body onto the chassis rather than using screws and welds.
Some Superleggera bodyworks, like this, weighs only 180 kilos.
Wow.
That's why it's super light.
And if you don't mind, do you mind if I just fondle your wheel wells?
If you touch, you can see how the metal is folded.
What I couldn't guess from photographs is how they finished places like the bottom of the rocker panel and just inside the wheel wells. As it turns out, very simply, just a simple fold that ends.
They just left it like that. It's just simple, it just makes sense, and that's amazing. That really is amazing.
So Dave's away gathering information on the Ferrari, so Billy and I are working out the more complicated areas, trying to get them finished up for when he gets back.
I think I pretty much got it there.
Yeah, starting to look decent?
Yeah, I made 2 other pieces. I took a break because my arm was aching.
Yeah, your arm got tired, didn't it? All right, one's good.
Body's come along pretty quickly. Hopefully Dave will be happy with the amount of work we've got done so far.
Your fit's decent. Piece number 3. Not bad.
Yeah. How's your side?
Not bad.
Where is it?
It's over here.
You had time to weld it up and everything.
Yeah. Keep going. You almost got this.
Okay.
While the guys are back at the shop hammering away on the Ferrari, I'm here in Milan checking out the way the Italians used to build these cars in the 1950s.
So this is very similar in line and manufacturing technique to the car that I'm doing right now.
This is a one-off prototype designed to replace the Giulia GT.
One of the things I really love about Italian coachwork is even production cars have these beautiful, sensuous lines running up and down the cars.
You know, one of the things I'm seeing now and that made me unsettled is we started producing fenders and that, and the lines we have are sort of straight. And when I'm looking at this, there's no straight lines in this car. Everything has these wonderfully satisfying, gentle curves.
It's a prototype design thinking about the production process. And so there are no impossible lines.
Yeah.
It's completely handcrafted, but thinking about the production process.
So, when they were building this car, I mean, how many people were actually hands-on?
Bertone company was divided in two parts. One is the industry. Bertone has a production of cars. And then there is the design center. And in every design center, there is a team of masters. There is someone able to beat the panels, someone else able to build all the details. And so it's normally 15, 20 people, 20 really skilled people, because everything is handmade.
So most of the back half of the car is pretty well finished now. We're into making the wheel arches. I'm having a really hard time keeping the complicated shape symmetrical all the way around the car. These wheel arches, they don't look like a really complicated shape. So I'm wondering how difficult it would be to make a die.
Okay, yeah.
Ken and I have come up with a plan. We're gonna make some dies for a bead roller so I can run the pieces through the bead roller, and it should make all four corners really symmetrical really quickly.
Okay, I'm gonna do the template on the Ferrari wheel arch molding here, so when I'm building my dies, I can have a piece to go by, and there it is there. And this one here will give me my first basic cut on my on the lathe, which it'll be hours of cutting, but I mean, in the end, this is what I'm going to be going by. This is the first half, and so far so good. It's done. I'll start on the other half, and we'll get it all finished.
It's all by hand. So every move, every cut is basically your input. You have to do it manually by hand.
It just takes hours. That's the biggest thing, it's time. Kale,
What's going on?
we got some dies.
Yeah?
Yeah, kind of looks like an arch.
Look at that.
Sweet.
Learned something new today.
At the shop, we're building a Ferrari 250 GT California Spider in the Italian way. So I've come to Italy to learn about fit and finish from some of the masters.
And this is a very futuristic example of Italian coach building, the 4060 Aerodynamica. The problem is that everything was inside. The engine,
I see the radiators right there
the
in front of you.
radiator.
Yeah.
And so probably the noise could be music for the owner, but the smoke...
Oh yeah, everything, I mean, the smoke belches out of the things and the exhaust, and yeah, it would be a great place to live. Oh, it's just a great car. Really a great car.
This is one of the masterpieces, Disco Volante. Was originally designed for a US market, starting from the 1900 powertrain, but then the prototype was too expensive and too difficult to produce and remained just a prototype.
You can see the production techniques involved in that. It would be very hard to translate into a limited production car.
This was the problem because they start from the powertrain of a mass production car, but the modifications are too many for the limited edition.
So, you know, in the coach building process of this car, you just have guys who've got the drawings, you know, and imagine, and they're banging these pieces into shape. And you know, one is always easy, but when you think that they're doing both sides, I mean,
but they use the wooden shapes,
so they have the
wooden
box
sections to replicate the shape on the two sides. But many times they are not perfectly symmetric.
We're often challenged with preserving the skills, or actually in some cases rediscovering the skills that for the most part have been lost. So doing something like this teaches me a lot that I can then take back. You know, like your explanations about Superleggera are something that was sort of a revelation to me. I'm really pleased because I've been using English-style coach building And now we can sort of start using the lessons learned by the Italian masters. This is wonderful. I mean, and look at it. I mean, it's just one of the great automotive pieces of art. Morning, gentlemen. Well, you have come a ways, eh? That's nice. I'm pleasantly surprised.
There's something very special about Italian coach building. You know, it's sort of basic to the Italians. This innate design talent they've got. It's truly awe-inspiring. And the cars they make, well, they're sensuous rather than just good looking.
Yeah, now one of the things that I did notice in Italy is, you know, the finish in the fender wells. I mean, that is, you know, it's funny, people just don't understand how finicky some of this stuff is. And, you know, if you don't have the information, how did they finish going in underneath? These were just bone simple. You know, the metalwork comes down, it takes a 90 in, and that's it.
Dave has come back from Italy with some good information on how to finish the car, a lot of the detailed areas. We also realized that we need the entire team in on this project to get it finished properly and on time, so that's what we're going to do. We're going to get everybody together, we're all going to be on the same page and try and get this thing finished.
The guys working on these things were taking a lot of pride in what they did. Just maintain that same standard and we'll be safe right to the end of the project. Yeah, I'm really pleased. Good work, guys. Really good work.